Background story. I have one daughter, 13 female, Anna. Her mom, my wife, passed away 3 years ago. I'm now engaged to Jade. Jade has a son, 15 male, Ben. We got engaged a few weeks ago and finally got around to talking about merging finances. Anna has a pretty good college fund. We call it that, but it's basically hers to use however she sees fit. Jade has also set up a college fund for Ben, but Anna's is about 10 times as much as Ben. Jade suggested that we split the fund equally, and I absolutely refused. My reasons were, 1. My wife worked full-time, and I stepped down to freelancing when we had Anna. My wife earned a lot, and we had a policy of putting 30% of our salaries into the fund. Needless to say, my wife's contribution was much more than mine. 2. My wife's parents contributed significantly to this when Anna was born. 3. Money from my late wife's life insurance went into this fund directly. Jade didn't like it, but she understood. I've started working full-time too now that Anna has grown up. Jade works full-time too. I said that I'm currently putting 30% of my salary into Anna's fund, which after marriage I will make 15% into each for Anna and Ben. Here's where it gets tricky. Jade thinks it's not fair that Anna's fund gets the same amount as Ben's, as hers is already big enough. She thinks I should put 30% into Ben's fund until it reaches the same amount as Anna's. When I argued that it was unfair, she was telling me there is a difference between equality and equity. She was telling how Anna was lucky that she had 2 parents who earned well and grandparents who helped. Jade could only do so much as a single mom with no one to help. She had to waste a lot of money on childcare and rent, while me and my late wife had a house and each other. According to her, Ben needs help more than Anna. I get it. Ben will be going to college sooner than Anna, and Anna definitely has a lot of money. I still don't think it's fair to ask me to stop contributing to Anna's fund. Jade did the best she could under the circumstances she was in, and I'm proud of her for that. But Anna shouldn't be punished because Jade was in a crappy situation. Jade thinks that it's just going to build up resentment between them in the end. So, am I the a-hole? Edit. Because I was told to add this. Jade is not contributing to Anna's fund now. She will be putting in money for Anna once Ben is in college. So, I will be putting 15% into each fund, while Jade will put 30% into Ben's fund. She agreed to split it into 15% after Ben is in college. This is the current plan that I have proposed. Not the a-hole. You said pretty much exactly what I was going to. Anna shouldn't be punished because she had more help. Absolutely do not stop helping your own daughter, unless you want to, not because someone else tells you to. And you could be not contributing anything to his fund either, as it's not your responsibility, and you have no obligation to. Jade should be thankful that you're contributing what you are. Not the a-hole. Anna's fund was contributed, not just by you, but her mother and grandparents, and sadly, her mother's life insurance. Jade's son is not entitled to any of that. Jade should be happy you're willing to put anything aside for him. She wants to punish your daughter because she had a giving family, but it's more insulting to insinuate she needs to give up some of her dead mother's life insurance to her new stepbrother to even out the college funds. And just as insulting saying her dad should stop contributing, because in her eyes, her son is more important. Sure you want to marry her? Everything you buy Anna will be competition in Jade's eyes. I feel bad Anna has to be around her. Not the a-hole. Your daughter's college fund shouldn't suffer such a significant setback because you decided to remarry. Already she will be getting $15,000 a year less. Jade should be grateful that you are willing to add to her son's account. Ha! My mother-in-law has been really awful in the past. My husband supports me, and I'm aware no contact is an option, but it wasn't what worked best for us. She is a little better now, but she likes to get a rise out of me, and I've had to learn how to not react. She has even admitted she does it for fun, and I'm not the only person she does it to, but think high school mean girls antics. I had a lot of reasons to believe that mother-in-law would do something to upstage me at my wedding. That is very much her MO, and at the time, I hadn't learned to ignore her. I was very stressed and already feeling insecure as a bride, and mother-in-law's mother-in-law told me she would handle it, and to just not worry. Mother-in-law showed up in a sparkly white dress. It was brighter than mine, and her mother-in-law did take care of it for me with a travel mug of coffee. Sitting out for hours, not hot. And a chocolate cupcake to the butt. Mother-in-law's mother-in-law also had a couple of mother-in-law's dresses in the other room, so she could change. Mother-in-law took the white dress off and tossed it in the trash. My friend pointed out the label on the dress, and couldn't believe mother-in-law just tossed it, because it was such an expensive brand. I took it out of the trash and held onto it just to see if it could be salvaged, and I took it to a great cleaner. My feeling is she put it in the trash, and it's a nice dress. Mother-in-law always has a cocktail party on New Year's Eve, and I decided to wear it, because I don't have a ton of dresses I like, and to be honest, I didn't think she would notice. She did notice, and demanded to know if I stole her dress. I said she put it in the trash. Mother-in-law got mad and said her husband didn't buy that dress so I could wear it, and I'm sneaky for taking it out of the trash. Mother-in-law's husband actually said I was in the clear because she did throw it away. Mother-in-law got over it quick enough, but I did hear her telling someone that I did that to annoy her. My husband was also slightly embarrassed that his mom and stepdad know I wore something out of the trash, and said it was fine that I took it, but I shouldn't have worn it to her party. Everyone sucks here. Whilst your mother-in-law clearly threw the dress away, you only wore it to her cocktail party to get a rise out of her. You're both just as bad as each other. Everyone sucks here. I don't believe you for a second that you wore it because you don't have a ton of dresses you like, and you didn't think she would notice. I think you did it to be petty, and 100% you knew she would notice. Nobody in their right mind who is trying to keep the peace would wear that to a party where your mother-in-law is hosting. Jeez. Can't imagine why your mother-in-law isn't a big fan of you. Not the a-hole. Not because she put it in the trash, or because you thought she wouldn't remember, but because women like that need to know who they're messing with. Your great mother-in-law won't always be around to keep your mother-in-law from ruining special events, and she needs to know you aren't just going to sit there smiling through the tears. So, yeah, take her trash and make it your treasure. Ha. My ex-wife and I had been married for 3 years before we got divorced after I had found out she had been unfaithful while pregnant with our daughter. I've had DNA tests. She is mine. For our baby shower, my great-aunt gave her a diamond pendant that has been in our family for a few generations. It was meant to be given to our daughter once she got old enough to wear it. My wife fell in love with it and began wearing it, saying that she would give it to our daughter when the time came. I got full custody of our daughter in the divorce, so my ex-wife moved out of the house. I noticed that she wanted to take the diamond pendant with her, and I said no. The pendant was meant for our daughter, and it will go in her jewelry box with the other jewelry she has been gifted but can't wear yet. My ex-wife got extremely upset by this, and said that I'm insulting her by not trusting her to give it to our daughter when the time comes. I believe it's a family heirloom, and should stay in the family. She says that she's still our daughter's mother, and she still has my last name, so she's still family. She also says that since it was a gift at her baby shower, it was given to her, and she has the right to do what she wants with it. I don't know if I'm in the right here, or if I'm being vindictive because I still have some anger over her infidelity. The idea of her wearing the pendant that my great-grandmother wore on her wedding day makes me sick. I know it was given as a gift for her baby shower, but it wasn't given for her. It was given for safekeeping until our daughter is old enough. Since she is no longer a primary caretaker of our daughter, I don't think she should be the one to keep the necklace. Am I the a-hole for not letting my ex-wife keep the necklace? Not the a-hole. She really shouldn't be throwing the word trust around. She's certainly given ample reason for you not to trust her word. Not the a-hole. She hasn't proven herself to be trustworthy, so I wouldn't give it to her. She might end up selling it if it's valuable. Not the a-hole. How could you expect trust when she broke it by being unfaithful? Plus, there's no guarantee your relationship with her is going to be good years down the road. Keep it close to you, and never take your eyes off of it. If she really wants it that bad, she'll probably try to take it. Ha! My husband's sister recently got married. It was child-free except for my 18-month-old son. After the ceremony, formal photos, I noticed the photographer taking a lot of photos of my son. It was sweet, and I didn't think much of it, but it prompted me to have a polite word with the photographer to ask that he not use any of the close-ups of my son for promotional purposes. The photographer was really defensive and said that the bride had signed his T&Cs, which allow him to use any photos he likes on his social media pages, websites, flyers, etc. So if I have an issue, to take it up with her. I didn't think I was asking anything unreasonable, so I clarified that I didn't mind the larger group photos, but that we're just not comfortable with him using the close-ups, or the ones of him on his own, and that I appreciate the couple sign the paperwork, but this is a kid who cannot consent, and as his parents, I do not. The photographer still wouldn't agree, so I then asked him to not photograph my child for the remainder of the day, and he shrugged and said, "Sorry, no can do." I didn't set out to be difficult, but he rubbed me the wrong way, so for the rest of the event, I made sure to always place myself between the photographer and my son, to prevent him from getting more pics. It was a bit awkward at times, having to shift my position mid-conversation, but I didn't make a scene or do anything inappropriate for the photos. In fact, nobody even knew what I was doing, and I certainly wasn't going to trouble the bride and groom over it during their big day. It was only after the fact, when my sister-in-law got the photos back, that she asked me what was going on. Instead of focusing on other guests, the photographer had in fact continued trying to photograph my son, and the result is a huge number of photos with my back turned. Sister-in-law is annoyed I've inadvertently blocked other guests, and she's disappointed she doesn't have any photos of her dancing with her nephew. I do get why she's upset, but I explained what had occurred and why I had done it, and she said that I was being unreasonable, uncooperative, and that in this day and age, it's inevitable my son will have a social media presence, so it wasn't worth ruining her photos over. Worth noting that much of the annoyance of our families, we have a strict no social media rule when it comes to our son, for various reasons that I won't go into for word count's sake. But the bitterness over this probably exacerbated this issue. I think I might be the a-hole, as the family have said I should have brought this up in advance, so they could have ironed out all the details with the photographer beforehand, and they aren't wrong. If I had thought it out beforehand, then I absolutely would have, but it truly never even crossed my mind before the day. We've not been to a wedding in years, and this is the first formal event we've ever taken our son to, so it wasn't until we were in the moment that I thought of it. Am I the a-hole? Edit to add. My son was invited as an exception. He's the only young child in the family, and my sister-in-law really wanted him there. I did not ask to bring him. I would have happily had my mom watch over him for the day if she wanted to keep it totally child-free. Not the a-hole. You have a right to make choices for your child, and the photographer is definitely a big a-hole for neglecting the wedding and focusing on your son, either for his own benefit or to spite you. I can understand your sister-in-law's disappointment, but she needs to take it up with the photographer, who behaved unprofessional, rather than with you. Not the a-hole. And you know the photographer already has pictures of your son on his socials. I'd be finding a lawyer to send him a nice letter informing him that he really doesn't have permission to use pictures of your son. Not the a-hole. While the bride could consent to having her photos on advertising and websites for the photographer to have used other people would have required model releases from all of the other people. Should the photographer want to use a photo of your son, and if he did so without your permission, you could have put a stop to it fairly easily in the courts. The photographer was the a-hole for continuing to focus on your son and photos. Haha. Before my granddad died, he set up some money in a small house for me in a trust. I can't touch the money that was left for maintenance on the house and to pay for taxes. The rest of the money I've had access to since I was 18. This amount is supposed to be for college tuition, because my granddad didn't want me to take out any loans while I was going to school. It's just a little more than what tuition would cost while going to a state school for 4 years. I'm just in my second year now. Other than that money, my granddad just gave his money to charity and blew what he had left on vacations. He had been sick for a while, so he knew he was going to die soon and just wanted to have some last-minute fun. He even took me a couple of times, and I'm super grateful I got to have those trips with him before he died. My dad, who is my granddad's son and a total duck-up, had another daughter after me. I've recently seen her a couple of times these past few months because our dad, who was finally sober, was actively trying to get us to all have a closer relationship. Well, the whole being sober thing only lasted a year, and now he's left her and her mom to go on a bender. I guess my stepmom had really believed him about putting his life back together, because they had moved into a place together and she's expecting another kid. Now she's having a hard time affording the place they got together and figuring out how to pay off all the debt my dad left behind and how to afford childcare after she has the baby. The plan was for him to work while she took care of the kids and just work part-time from home. She kind of knows my grandpa left me some money and has asked if I could help her out. But if I do, I'm definitely going to have to take out loans to finish college, and I know that's something my grandpa absolutely wanted me to avoid. He ducking hated loans and banks just in general. Not the a-hole. Your grandfather left you that money to go to college, not for your dad's ex to have living expenses. Definitely do not do it. You are not responsible for your dad being a duck-up. This woman is looking for an easy way out. Use the money the way it was intended. Not the a-hole. You're not the a-hole here. Your stepmom made some bad life decisions here as well as your dad, and it's not your responsibility to help them out of situations that they created. I understand it's tough for your stepmom, but she'll need to work out her legal options on her own. My dad is married to Jane, who has 2 kids I've only met a couple times. She's very open that she doesn't love them, never bonded, and that being a mother has cost her years of crippling depression. She finally ran away when they were young teens. She still has some surface-level relationship with them, and constantly throws money at them, but seems to want constant validation that it isn't her fault, and she can't make herself love them. I hosted a celebratory Mother's Day brunch the other day. The understanding was that moms didn't have to cook. The men in my family don't cook, which is annoying, but my child-free sister really likes to cook, and said she didn't mind, and my husband wanted to grill. My mom is the type who feels like she always has to serve her kids no matter what. So she kept trying to do work, while Jane was just sitting on her butt, which was annoying me. To be honest, I can't stand Jane for a bunch of reasons, but her gross neglect of her kids is amongst them. I finally asked her why she was just sitting around and not helping. She isn't really a mother per her choices, so she can cook. Jane began sobbing and saying she suffered for years. She is a mother. My dad yelled at me and tried to calm Jane down, but at this point she was hysterical. My brother and his girlfriend were laughing at her, so she wanted to go. Jane screamed at me, called me a bee, a stupid white girl. So I said she is banned from my house for a while because she said that right in front of my kids. My mom and siblings took my side, but my grandmother also left, and my husband called me an aggressor. You're the a-hole. Why would you invite Jane to a Mother's Day brunch if you don't consider her to be a mother? I think you were just looking for an opportunity to say something to her. The fact your own husband called you an aggressor is quite telling. You're the a-hole. You made an absolutely unnecessary, cruel comment to your stepmom in front of your children. You don't have to like her. You don't have to be her best friend. But when you're targeting her out of a group of people because the men don't cook, aka choose not to and aren't required to, yet she is, and make passive-aggressive remarks, you're just teaching your kids to be aggressors because they don't like people. You're the a-hole. You were mean for the sake of being mean. Did you call out the dads for not helping? Or did you just attack Jane on a day that must be challenging for her? Kindness is always an option.